I'm just a shepherd. We already have a king.
We will crush your kingdom.
Those are fighting words. Bring out Goliath!
I've always followed when I'm looking for the way.
He's huge.
Searching for the answer in the moments I'm afraid.
Yep, we're dead.
Brent, congratulations on David. That's coming. I'm so excited. It's visually stunning and spiritually rich and cute and funny and a musical. So, I mean, honestly, I don't know the last time David looked so adorable on screen. I want to art. So let's start with the beginning, with the shepherd boy who became the king. The Bible has 1,000 characters. How did you choose David to make a movie?
So this is where the studio owner, Phil Cunningham, he and I have been working together for 25 years. We both grew up in Zimbabwe, which is just a little bit north of South Africa. And his story, and I know it so well, so I can tell it from his point of view. He was canoeing down the Zambezi, which is a river in Zimbabwe, and was just so in awe at God's creation, at the power of a thunderstorm, the beauty of a lion charging, and what he encountered there was a God of incredible adventure, a big, expansive God, a creative God, and not a sort of stuffy, boring headmaster. But and in Acts it says David was a man after God's own heart. And so at that point, deposited within Phil, he's like, I'd love to tell a story about David because it would just reflect God's heart to the world. And so he literally started a movie studio back then so that he could one day tell this story. And it was about 11 years ago that he said to me, he's like, Brent, okay, it's time for David. I want to do it as an animation. Do you think that you can write and direct it? And I was like, yeah, let's go. So, and I think that's the key of it, is that David is a man after God's own heart. And that was why him out of all of the thousands of Bible characters, just to really reflect who God is.
Yeah. Oh, and David is, it's such a great story because it's action, adventure, there's royalty, there's, miracles that happen, there's drama. It's a musical. Yeah. How did you guys balance all of those factors and make it one cohesive movie?
With great pain. It was a real challenge, but it was also a joy. And I think the fact that we ended up making it as an animation, because Phil originally wanted to do it as a live action. But when the idea came for it to be an animation, that's when it opened up the idea for it to be a musical, to really be fun, adventurous, challenging, inspiring, and like you said, there's so many ingredients in the story of David. There is just the purity and sincerity of heart, but also the challenge of a king who's jealous, and there's battles, there's so much that goes into it. But the fact that we're doing this as an animation opened up that it could be a musical. And what I love about that is that's a fundamental of who David was as a person. He was a poet, and he called himself Israel's singer of songs, So we had full license to go lean heavily into the musical side of things, and it was true to who he was as a person.
Yeah. Were there any biblical moments that you wanted to animate and we want to have this in there, but the team was just like, how are we going to animate that? We have to cut that part.
Yeah, so it wasn't so much the team, it was just the very nature that we had 100 minutes to work with. And if you consider the story that we're telling is from David when he was shepherd to when he became king, Goliath happens halfway through the movie. And in David's story in the Bible, Goliath happens in the second chapter of the story in Samuel of David. There's 42 chapters after that till he becomes king. So we really had to figure out how do we condense so much of that, and it wasn't, the animators never said, we can't, that's too technical, that's too difficult. It was just, it would have ended up 3.5 hours, which is not okay. So it was a story challenge rather than technical challenge. But it allowed a lot of opportunity to condense. What we really tried to make sure we did was keep the original intent and heart and themes from the Bible, but condense things to tell them in a more succinct way, which was a challenge, but I feel we wove our way through it pretty well.
Yeah. What was important for you guys to capture that you think maybe other Hollywood adaptations may have missed, that you were like, we really want this essence in there?
Okay, well, I think there's a few things, as you say that. The first thing that comes to mind is to capture the essence of David. That what is it like to have a character who has a heart after God, and what does that mean? Like, and how do you sort of portray that? And the answer is in the Bible. We had it was really interesting. We had a lot of story people giving us input, and they're like, you have to make David doubt here, because that's what the hero's journey is. He needs to, and we kept going, well, that's not what's in the Bible. That's not who we see in the Bible. We had advice from people as he fights Goliath. You've got to escalate that. You've got to make him scared. Then you've got to do this, and we're like, that's not what we see in the Bible. Like in the Bible, it says David ran towards Goliath, and he's like, who's this Philistine? And so we really took great care to make sure that we showed David the one that we saw in the Bible. And also what we did was you're talking about how other Hollywood movies maybe don't capture the essence of something. We tried to, as best as we could, let this story be what it wanted to be, rather than trying to force a fit for our own, what we believed or our own agenda, or even try and make it fit into other, like we didn't look at another movie and go, well, this movie worked like that, so let's try and do that. We didn't do any of that. We were like, what does this movie need? And we did that. And I'm hoping the audience will really feel the freshness of that, because it's not derivative.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't talk about David without talking about the music in this movie, in this film. I mean, those are one of the first two things that come to mind when people think about David. They're like, he sung and he fought Goliath with a slingshot.
Yeah, right.
So you guys brought on Phil Wickham, who is an incredible singer, incredible song artist. How did he get joined into the project, and what was it about him that you said, oh, he can capture the heart that David puts in his music?
Well, I love the story of how Phil came about, because again, it wasn't a lot of people might look at it and go, oh, well, it's great they got Phil Wickham because he's got a great audience and it's good reach for the movie. Phil Wickham was not a marketing decision for us. It was a heart decision. And I love the fact that he came on board. So all the songs had already been written, actually, and we had great songwriters that were involved, and I can talk about them and some of the songs. Everything had been done, but we hadn't found our adult David yet. And Phil Wickham heard about the project, and he reached out to us because when he was 8, he watched The Lion King, and he said since then he had a desire to voice an animated character. And he was like, oh, how great would it be to voice David? So he reached out to us, and we hadn't found our David yet. And we were like, okay, well, we're going to audition him in the same way that we're auditioning everybody else. Just because he's Phil Wickham he doesn't get the part immediately. So and the thing is, he really showed up. It wasn't the Phil Wickham, the celebrity. It was Phil Wickham, the 8-year-old boy that showed up, with a dream to be the voice of an animated character. And he just brought such a wonderful innocence, an energy, a humility, and we put that voice to the character we designed, and they married, and it was like, okay, he's right, and from there, Phil just had a blast, just bringing David to life. It was wonderful.
Is there a certain just spirit that Phil brought that you're like, that's David right there? Like, oh, that part of your personality, or that part of your heart, or that part of your story, like, I just hear it, I see it.
Yeah, well, I think so. A couple of things. One is Phil himself says his middle name is David, which he loves. Is like, it was meant to be, right? But he's a modern day psalmist. He is a modern day David in that that's his expression of worship to God is through his voice and through those talents that he's been given. So obviously he's got that in common with David. But also, I would say he came in with such a servant servant-hearted attitude. He came in to serve. He didn't come in as a big star. He came, he's like, how can I help? What can I do? And he was so kind, and he was like, guys, just tell me if it's bad. I don't mind if you give the part to someone else. He said, I'm backing this project and I'm going to promote it anyway. It's like, I just want to see this. Movies like this need to come out. So it's whether it's me or someone else, I'm behind you guys. And to me, that's a very David-hearted spirit. You know, in the same way that David, when he was anointed to be king, he didn't sort of grab hold of it and go, okay, yes, this is mine, you know. So Phil felt like he held onto the part of David in that same way. So it was perfect.
That's beautiful. And I love what you were saying that Phil said. It was like, even if I'm not a part of it, this is a powerful story, and this
Absolutely
needs to be shown and made. And that's such a... What's amazing about movies like this is that it's not just a movie. It's not just fantastic soundtrack and amazing visuals. It does something to you spiritually. And you've been working on this movie for over 10 years. What do you think that it's done for you spiritually, just from working on it? It's been a part of my faith story, you know, like, so 10 years is a long time. It's a decade, you know, that's a good portion of your life. And my faith journey has taken a whole thing through this whole process. And I can recognize, so I would say my faith journey through this has been a little bit like David's "Why God, my God" moment in the desert. And I think as I've reflected on it, I've recognized that I actually think that I needed to be in a position of vulnerability and really just relying on God's leading through this time, so that I didn't bring my own ideas to the table. You know, if I had made this in when I was 20 and I was like, oh, I know all the answers, I think it would have made quite a different movie. But during these 10 years, there's been so much questioning, so much learning that I think, and that's the thing, you know, life imitates art. Feels like a little bit of that happened as well. So thankful for the journey. And I feel so much richer and deeper because of it. Yeah. That's amazing. I guess my question be vice versa. Did you feel, or if there are any moments where you felt that your faith impacted the film, or where you were like, oh, I know this moment, I really want to write this part?
Yes, definitely. And I think, so the one thing on my journey is, belief is a very important thing to me, and even I'd say, even outside of faith, belief in, why am I doing this project? Is it for myself? Is it for my kids? Like, what is the motivation behind this thing? And I think I've been very fortunate that the steps that I've taken in life, so as an example, at some point I thought that I was going to go into the ministry. Okay, this was in my early 20s, and I felt within myself that I needed to go to a church in America, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going. Like, I believe it, so I'm going. So off I went. I didn't even phone this church. This is before the internet, actually, pretty much. I just went to the States. I didn't even know where they were. I knew they were in LA, and I looked them up when I got there. And that led to the next thing, which led to the next thing, which ultimately in my story has led me here today, you know. And so having that sort of childlike faith, I think, is what David also has. And I think that's what Phil also has. And that's what we wanted to infuse in David in the movie. And not that we're trying to put that in there. We believe that is how David operated. He had that childlike faith, you know. So when he went to fight Goliath, he was like, no, I believe God's got this. And if people are like, no, but you need the armor, you need this and that, he's like, no, God's got this, not me. It's not about me, you know, and I'm going, you know, and he just trusted. And so Phil and I are kindred spirits in that regard. And so I think that's something that I really hope people get from the movie, is just, it's like, yeah, okay, well, if I believe God's got me, then let me just go, you know?
Yeah. If you could ask David one thing after making this movie, after being with him for so long, you know, reading the scripture and
Yeah.
writing and songwriting, what would that one question be like if you could ask him one thing?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I was asked a similar question a couple of days ago where they said, which version of David would you like to go and meet? And I was like, I'd like to meet young David, but I'd also like to meet the David after Bathsheba and after he sent Uriah to die, because they're the same person, but they've both gone through, you know what I mean? It's the same person, but they've had very different life experiences. And if I was to say, well, what I want to ask David, I think I would actually say, what does God's voice sound like to you? How does he speak to you? You know, what does it sound like? What does it taste like? How do you recognize it? And what does it feel like?
Yeah.
And can I have some of that?
Can you write an instruction manual very clearly?
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, I want to know, what did creating David teach you about the kind of stories that you want to tell going forward?
It reinforced what Phil and I have been trying to do for the last 25 years, which is to tell stories with honesty, and tell stories that inspire. Again, not to preach to people, but I think there's so many. To a large degree, I think Hollywood has sort of fallen into a trap of sort of throwing popcorn and candy at the screen. You know, it's like look over here, here's a gag, here's this and that, and I've started to notice things. It's a little bit more like fast food, you know. And Phil has got a great analogy with the way we went about David. He said he was walking through the streets of France and looking at the incredible monuments there, and he said we could try and make the Arc de Triomphe in movies, or we could be more corporate and make blocks of flats and make lots of money. But we want to make something like the Arc de Triomphe. We want to make things that really have a beauty to them, that have a resonance to them, and that stand the test of time. And the way we've gone about David and having made it, we like, yes, this is what we want to do. You know, we're not going to take the shortcuts. We want to tell movies that have richness, depth, resonance, and that move the needle in a positive direction for humanity.
Yeah, I mean, we're all about that. We love that. Are there any hints about maybe future biblical stories that you have your eye on?
The hint can be that there are future stories that we're looking at, but I'm not allowed to say which ones.
I like that. I'll take it. I mean, and if anyone wants to guess, go to the Bible, read the whole thing.
Yeah. And send your suggestions.
Yeah. Comment down some suggestions or what you think the next ones should be. Well, Brent, thank you so much. It's been so great talking to you. I'm so excited for our audience to see this. And for our audience, can you tell us when they can see this and where they can watch it? Yes.
So it is coming on the 19th of December in USA and Canada, and in certain other territories around the world, but I think your audience is largely there. You can go and pre-book tickets at angel.com/David, and pre-booking tickets helps the project hugely, because the way Angel's site is set up is you can go pre-book tickets at cinemas that don't have it yet, and Angel can go to the cinema and say, we've sold 100 tickets already for the cinema. I think you better get the movie here. So go pre-buy your tickets. Go and it's wonderful because it's during Christmas, a great movie to take the family to. So please go watch and enjoy it.
Are you ready for a great adventure?
I will not be
Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below. And if you want more content like this, head over to movieguide.org. Movieguide is a nonprofit organization, and we are supported every day by viewers like you.